Hey, everybody. Well, I just thought I would document my Christmas experience. Here it's 2022, and I was traveling to Portland to spend a week with my kids, which I did. I got to have fake Christmas with my grandson because they were scheduled to leave on Saturday, Christmas Eve day, to go be with my daughter-in-law's relatives for the holiday. All good. So we got our time together. I was scheduled to head up to Portland on Friday so I could travel out myself on Christmas Eve day. Well, this year there was ice storms and craziness. We made it up to Portland. My son was dropping me off to my hotels and flight the next morning, in theory. It was a white knuckle, solid sheets of ice journey of scariness. We made it. He spent the night and made it back home safe and sound because the weather conditions were a little better, but not at the airport. So flights were canceled everywhere. And my particular flight, because I'm headed back to Maui, there's very limited amounts of Hawaiian airline flights out of Portland, and they were all booked, packed, unavailable until Tuesday. So I've had to chill my jets here in Portland in the hotel on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then I'll leave on Tuesday. So I thought I would chronicle my little adventures. You know, this is how life is sometimes. You just make the best of it. So anyway, here's what I've been up to. So as you can see, it's definitely icy. This is the parking lot from the hotel, and you can see how many people have sort of been stuck here as they've missed flights, as have I. A little trip to Trader Joe's before I came up here to Portland made sure that I had plenty of snacks and things to nibble on. So don't worry, I'm not gonna be hungry. Look at all the stuff I've got in here because I decided I better call the DoorDash before the holiday. And of course, all of my clothes are dirty. So luckily, little handy size soap and washing facilities here at the hotel. Yeah. So luckily my little suite here has a nice little table, and I've set out all the things I need. So I've got watercolor pencils and pens and scissors to cut my paper down to size, and I'm ready just to create. So I got a lot of drawings done yesterday, and now it's Christmas Day, and I've had a little sleep in, breakfast in the jacuzzi, and visited a friend, and now I'm getting back to doing some painting. So here's how this one turned out. Now, somebody had mentioned online that before I put this guy in here, it would be neat to have just the piece with it open, and people could be able to get that and add their own creature under the hill. So I took a shot of this with my camera, and with any luck, I'll be able to Photoshop and tweak it a bit and have just the line drawing available with this guy gone, and we'll see what happens with that. But next it's going to be the painting. But here's the other one I did because of the snow outside. I thought I'd make a woolly something. So it's sort of woolly mammoth adjacent, but I don't know. But this is fun, so that's going to be fun to paint. And then these guys, they're either playing tag or they are concerned about imminent nibbling. I don't know which. And then we've got the little love aquatics going on there with the jellyfish dancing. And I started painting this one, and this is I don't know, some kind of weird fairy-esque weirdo, but just beginning to do some coloring on there. I love the ink drawing part, and I love the coloring part. It's all such fun. And then the last one's just this little sort of the side of a hill with a little weirdo creature here. So I thought I would start or continue anyway, painting. And since I've already started with this one, maybe I'll finish there. So I just picked up some cheap little brushes. These are not anything super expensive or whatever. And again, I've got weird lighting here, so don't be too worried about that. And I'm gonna look and see what these are watercolor pencils. So if I don't have like a full watercolor set with me, then a lot of times I'll bring a watercolor pencil. And there's a couple things that you can do with it. So you can take your watercolor pencil, let me get that right. And you can, I can just even color just lightly here and then use my brush to wet that and spread it out. So that's one way to use it. Another way, which is the way I prefer because I can get a little bit more intense color, is I just kind of use this as though it was a little bit of watercolor, like, you know, if you get it in a tin and they're in the square, so it's just in more pencil form, and then I just use it as I would a normal watercolor, and that works out well. And this is watercolor paper, which is nice. You can do Bristleboard too, which is a smooth paper, but you get a little bit more distorting of the paper if you're using a lot of wet, which I never do. I'm using a more gentle watercolor, not a lot of heavy washes, but having this little texture always makes a little easier time of it when you are playing with watercolor. So I'm just going to kind of goof around a bit and see what happens. Since I work a little bit at a time, I'm trying to work wet on wet, and I'm trying to like finish it out by just regular water so that the next bit can kind of morph right up to that, whether or not it's wet. That's a whole thing. Watercolors are interesting. They're not the most forgiving of materials to work with because they have their own rules and they don't like to be overworked. You know, so you can put color on color, but there's a few rules to how that works well. And a lot of it has to do with just the way the water bleeds from one part of a watercolor into the next can be tricky. But I find it very wonderful. I love the freshness that watercolor has, just the way that it flows and can make these beautiful colors in a way that no other paint does. I mean, all paints are great, but I love watercolor. So see, I just kind of I'm trying to make not all one solid color. I want to give that sort of more ethereal quality to it. So I think I'm just going to play with this a little bit and you know, just goof around. Have some fun. I'll let you know how it turns out. Life is just unexpected sometimes. I do my best to roll with it and find the fun stuff. And it does help to have a nice stash of chocolates. So, Merry Christmas!